Hello everyone. Today we're going to touch upon a touchy subject. Stripes and belt promotions. Why? Because at some places and with some students it's completely out of control. You could easily get promoted in martial art and not be a lethal weapon or be able to use any of it in a real fight. The first UFCs definitely showed that. So now we're in an era where it's very different with the promotions depending on the school and the teacher. So back in the days, we didn't have bars on our belts until black belt. So you didn't get stripes. You'd see a brand new blue belt and somebody with a blue belt that looks like it's been through World War II. And obviously that person's been a blue belt for probably a good 4 to 6 years. Any other blue belt could have got it yesterday. So you couldn't really tell the difference because there was no stripes, right? Even though but they're both blue belts. So with jiu-jitsu, it's getting to a point now where you have students that feel so entitled. Oh, I deserve this stripe. I deserve to get promoted. I remember somebody, it was during COVID, there's belt promotions. The person just was getting over having COVID. And they didn't care if they got anybody else sick because they felt that they should be there at the belt promotions because they're gonna get promoted. And they didn't. They got some stripes. Meanwhile, the next year, and the thing is they told their whole family to getting promoted because they felt I deserved to get promoted. Meanwhile, the thing that ends up happening is in different schools, things are done differently. Some people promote you on a day-to-day basis. Some people will do an annual or biannual promotion, and I can understand putting a lot of hard work into a martial art and wanting to show your progress. Your progress is not the belt. Your progress is how you do on the mat. I remember how it was at Henzo's. It's like, if you're a white belt, to get to blue belt, you probably are at a point where you're beating all the other white belts and beating almost half the blue belts. Then you finally get promoted to blue belt and everybody's happy because they're like, thank God, now I don't have a white belt beating me up, or I don't have somebody that's making it really difficult for me as being a blue belt that's been one for a while against white, because now we're blue belts. So this is a great thing because everybody acknowledges your growth and your skill level in jiu-jitsu. Now you have it where somebody gets promoted and people are just like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting that, whatever. And the thing that happens with jiu-jitsu, it's like there's no testing. There's no testing at all. So it's up to the teacher. And then with the teacher, if you're a brown noser to the teacher, that might help, but that's not a good thing. Kissing somebody's ass to get promoted. You might have some conflict where the teacher doesn't like the student for whatever reason and holds them back. Then there might be some political stuff where that person gets promoted very quickly and you don't understand why, because that person's not at that level. So there's all this drama that goes on, but the thing that ends up happening, you have some people that feel so entitled, where I've seen it where the person gets the belt that they wanted because they cried about it for so long, and then they go to a different school and they get destroyed by somebody at their level or even lower. So say you got promoted to purple, you go train at a different school, and now all the purple belts are killing you and half of the blue belts are. So now you're like, instead of you saying, oh, I was begging for this belt, now I got it, but I wasn't at that level to wear it, but I got what I wanted. Instead of taking it like a man, you now go, oh, my school sucks, let me go to a different school, because the level is very different, but you'll still want to wear your purple belt because you felt you deserved it. If I went to a school and I got beat up by everybody and I was a purple belt, I would demote myself to blue belt and wait for that teacher to promote me. But there's so much narcissism and entitlement now in the world in general where people just want things. I'd rather be somebody that's a high level blue belt than a low level black belt that's getting beat up by blue belts. Because I've seen now black belts, back in the days, the way it was is like, the only way somebody should be close to beating you or being tough is if they're at that belt level. But mostly everybody who's training hard grows like this together. So the blues beat the whites, The purples beat the blues and the whites. The browns beat the purples, the blues, and the whites. And then nobody could touch the black belts. You know, that's kind of how it was at one point. Now you have it where somebody's either purple, brown, or black belt, and you're like, how did that happen? Is jiu-jitsu getting watered down? Are people now getting promoted just so they don't go home and cry to their parents that they didn't get promoted when they're 40-year-old men? It doesn't make any sense. And then the thing is too, some people are promoting people just to keep their business. And sometimes it backfires because that person again goes somewhere to train and they're like, well, I got my purple belt, you know, and then next thing you know, they're getting annihilated in the other school, and then they leave the school to go to the other school because they think that school's better. You know, there are schools that are good and some are better, but it's your attitude that makes a difference. It's how you train, how you practice that makes a difference. If you're in a school with bad teaching, then go to a different school. If you're with a school that has teachers that care and explain stuff and are there to help you, and you're not getting better, maybe it's not the school or the teachers, maybe it's you. And that's why I talk about the video that I have where it's like learning the moves from your teacher or binge watching videos. This is another problem where people are just watching too much stuff and not learning from their teachers. But they feel like they watch so much jiu-jitsu on their own, they need to get promoted. It's just the whole thing right now is just so all over the place. You know, and then they have some programs where if you put in 300 hours as a blue belt, you'll get your purple belt. It doesn't matter if you put in 3 hours or 300,000 hours. If your skill isn't at that level and your knowledge of jiu-jitsu isn't at that level, you shouldn't be wearing that belt around your waist. It's just that simple. Remember, Hoist said the belt only covers 2 inches of your ass. The rest you have to do on your own. So this is really important. With children, it's completely different. There's a million belts in jiu-jitsu for kids, even from white to gray. You have 3 different gray belts, and each one has 4 stripes on it. So you have the lowest is a gray belt with a black stripe, a solid gray belt, and it's the reverse. You have a gray belt with a white stripe in the middle, a solid gray belt, and a gray belt with a black stripe. Before getting the next level, depending on their age, there's 4 stripes, and then the 5th stripe is the next belt. With kids, there's so many belts. It's okay if they do just a number of classes and get promoted, because they can't even get their blue belt till they hit 16 years old. So there's a buffer there on purpose to keep them safe and help them continue to learn. With adults, it's not like that. You go from white, blue, purple, brown, black. There's only 4 belts. There's no intermediary belts, even though some people now, instead of white to blue, they'll give them either a yellow belt or a gray belt, which I've seen some schools do, and that's their own thing. But when it comes to being promoted, there's no classes, there's no tests, belt tests or anything like that, which other martial arts have. And there's nothing wrong with other martial arts having that. But jiu-jitsu is performance-based, skill-based. So now you just have people that feel so entitled to get promoted. And it's like, why? Aren't you there to learn jiu-jitsu? So learning jiu-jitsu should be your goal. Getting better at escapes, getting better at putting moves together, getting better at seeing things happening before they happen, or setting things up, or working on something where, okay, these are the counters, but what's the counter to the counter? And it becomes a big chess game. People should really be focused on their level of jiu-jitsu more than how many stripes are on their belt, what color their belt is. Because if you really love jiu-jitsu and train the right way, all that stuff will come. It's inevitable. But to go with this narcissistic entitlement that you should be promoted and you should be this stripes and this many stripes, you should get this belt ahead of time, you know, it's crazy. And also you have some schools, it's very difficult to get promoted there. I don't think it's a money thing. I think it's more because that's a competitive school and they have a certain level they want everybody to get to before they get their next belt. And that's a great thing, because then you probably have really good jiu-jitsu practitioners. Then you have other places that are people getting promoted like crazy with ease, that their skill level isn't that of even a high level blue belt. And that's even going from purple, brown, and black. So what's the reason behind this rant? Just too many people are feel entitled that they should be promoted. You know what? I know people who ask the teacher, oh, why didn't I get a stripe? Why didn't I get this? Now it's going to take longer, right? Because you shouldn't be questioning your teacher. It's like you should have that respect, and you should have that trust in the teacher that they'll do the right thing by everybody. And then when you get to that point, they'll reward you with something that you deserve and something you've earned, not because it's something that you wanted, because you're going to cry or leave the school if you don't get it. That's not the way it should be. But now jiu-jitsu is very Americanized, where you have some places that are like belt factories. They're just giving out belts because back in the days, I know a lot of the teachers, they wanted you to represent them. They wanted your jiu-jitsu to be something that they're proud of because you represent them. Most teachers these days aren't like that anymore. It's like, I have my jiu-jitsu, you have yours. I earned my black belt. You know, hopefully you, if you compete or go to another school or go to open mat somewhere, hopefully you could defend the belt that you have, but it's not my problem. As long as I'm getting my money from my membership, my yearly membership from your attendance, that's all I care about. You have schools that are like that, you know? So instead of thinking so much about getting promoted, think about your progress. This is the number one thing, okay? Some people I might have offended here, whatever, be a man. Pull up your panties and be a man. It's not a big deal. You know, if you're worried about being promoted and you notice this, and this is something that you could relate to, just go, you know what? It would be nice to have that belt or get a stripe, but you know what? Let me go there for the art. Let me go there to learn jiu-jitsu. Let me show how much I'm learning by my performance in class, how I show up to class. I show up to class on time. I do everything the teacher does. I'm putting in the hard work instead of sitting there and chatting about what I watched on Flow Grappling or YouTube or the new DVD I got or the next show-year-old gi that's coming out. It's like, when you're in class, do the stuff that teacher's teaching. Don't do the stuff that you think is better, the stuff that you watched on social media. Do what's in class. This shows respect to the teacher. This shows that you care and that you're there to learn, that you're not a know-it-all. You know, so all these things come into play. But again, you know, everybody's there for a different reason. Do what makes you happy. But the most important thing is don't be so focused on stripes and belts. Yes, it feels good when you get promoted, but it feels even better when you know you earned it, not when you asked for it. So go there, try to learn the art from your teacher, learn what you're learning in class, practice what you're learning in class, do what you're supposed to do in class, show up to class, put forth the effort, and try to just get better at jiu-jitsu. And then the stripes will come, the belts will come, and you'll know that you are a true practitioner of the art, and that's the most important thing. So I'm going to end this video on a lighter note. I'm going to show a black belt promotion from Hamelo, who's from, hopefully I'm saying his name right, from Gracie Baja. This is a beautiful black belt ceremony. Also, I'll put the link to the full video in my description, so enjoy.
That I want to pass to my students, especially the ones who get a black belt. The worst thing for the professor is regret. Give a black belt to someone. The worst, you know, like the worst thing that I can never regret is to give this to someone and then they don't follow the same example that I wanted to follow. You know? But I also believe this is very hard. If they're not following your example, it's probably because you're not leading by example. So, they're not following might be a little bit your fault. So I never actually regretted giving no black belts for my students. All my black belts, I have a huge respect and then really appreciate for them to believe and then stick with the team, with the family, no matter what circumstance. They keep going until they reach on the level. All right, guys. So let's keep going on this. I think I talked too much already. First black belt, very special, you know. She's actually been training here forever. And then, you know, don't ever get fooled by she's being so nice to you and then smile because she can smoke you and smash you. And then she's actually very kind of do something that actually, she told me that jiu-jitsu actually helped her. And then I'm very happy there. And then, you know, a great person on and off the mat, and then a very, very, very well-deserved black belt. Henry, step forward. As always, trying to make her best to come in training, and then, you know, like putting the work and effort. And then I knew it, that she'll be a black belt. I always knew it. Some people you always know, you know, like you always know because you know they commit. You know, so very well deserved. Black belt to carry. Hey, and then you definitely can say something, you know? You can actually just like pretend that you say something, right? Exactly. Because you're the neck.
And I remember back then I wanted to do martial arts because I felt like as a woman I needed to prove that I was tough. But jiu-jitsu did something much deeper than that. Jiu-jitsu taught me about real strength and how to build real strength. And every time I'm on these mats, my weakness is revealed to me. And my ego about that weakness is revealed to me, which are two things that get in the way of real strength, right? And it's healthy, because then I'm forced to deal with them. I swallow tears of pride and embarrassment and pain, and they're good medicine. I remember one time getting picked up and tossed by Maddie, the giant blue belt. Do you guys remember Maddie? She tossed me across the mat, and I land on my finger, and I break my finger. And I sit up, and I'm getting ready to cry. And I look up, and I see Professor Edwin staring at me. He goes, "What? Did you break your finger?" And I was like, you know, bottom lip. Yeah. He goes, "Well, just pull it back into place and tape it up. You'll be fine." And then, in that moment, I'm like, "Oh, okay. I guess I don't have to cry about broken fingers in jiu-jitsu. I can just tape up my finger, get back on the mat, and keep rolling." And that's a life metaphor that jiu-jitsu teaches me, right? You just tape up your fingers, and you take your jiu-jitsu medicine, and you get stronger, and you keep rolling. And I love it. I love having people's feet in my face and their arms in a bar and their sweat on my gi and my blood on the mat and bruises everywhere because, you know, it makes me feel alive. Jiu-jitsu requires you, I'm still talking, sorry.
No, you keep going. I love it. I love it.
Go good. It requires you to engage physically and emotionally and mentally because if you don't, you'll get choked out. And for me, I have it's important that I have to engage in all three things because I have a noisy brain. My husband likes to call it my noisy brain. And it is a bully sometimes, and it tells me, right, I'm not worth anything, or life is too hard, I can't do it. But those are lies. And when I'm on the mats, jiu-jitsu quiets that brain. It teaches me otherwise, right? When I shake someone's hand before we start rolling, they often say, you know, how are you doing? And I say, oh, I'm good, because I'm here. I'm good because I'm here, and I mean it, because I know that my brain is going to get quiet. I'm going to get reminded who I am, where my real strength is developing. Jiu-jitsu is teaching me about that real strength. And I don't have to prove anything to anybody else, right? And I'm good because I'm here, also because I'm surrounded by people with hearts of gold. And I think it's because of who Professor is and the example he leads with. He's always pushing himself to be better, but never to the detriment of anybody else. He's pushing us to be better, to be more committed, but also with a gentleness and a kindness, and he's hilarious, so he does with humor, and he protects us, right? And he always says, before we roll, you know, to the boys, if you hurt any of these girls, I'm going to kill you. And he means it, but he knows that we're strong enough because of him to take care of ourselves on the mat. And all of the other teachers here, Jason and Angelo and Edwin and God, there's too many, and Matt, all of the professors, you guys are just gentle warriors of true strength, and you teach me, and you are upright men that I learn from every time I roll with you. And Tasia, you are my girl, and I can't talk about you too much because I will cry. Yeah, I know. But you know, you are one of the main reasons I'm here today. So the bond that forms on these mats is unbreakable and it's unspoken, and being on these mats together with all of you requires this intimate agreement of trust to take care of each other. And whether you know it or not, you know me in a different way than anybody else does. You have all seen me at my best, and you have all seen me at my worst. And you've all smelled me at my best, and you've all smelled me at my worst. So Professor, that's why I do jiu-jitsu, because jiu-jitsu makes me a stronger human, and I do jiu-jitsu here because it makes me a happier human. So.